Right.
Hello and welcome to Bible FPL, a review of Game Week 27, a look ahead to Game Week 28. And is it just me, or is FPL just a little bit boring at the moment, a little bit naff? Football in general, I think Premier League football, it's just largely, I think there's just not crazy exciting games week in, week out, and particularly with fantasy football, there's not really many assets that we can hang our hats on the moment as kind of fun, attackingly returning players. It's more the DEFCON lads that I think are keeping our FPL teams alive at the moment. So I thought I'd put together a wildcard draft. A lot of you may be thinking about a wildcard this week. Some of you have recently played a wildcard and you're just like, this hasn't gone very well. And some of you may be just looking for a bit more spice in FPL at the moment. So I thought I put together a wildcard draft. I'm also considering hitting the wildcard button myself. So yeah, without further ado, I'll hop into the wildcard draft, and then I'll review how my teams did, and then I'll do a little short talk from the Bible, as I always do as part of these videos, to bring a bit of deeper meaning to these videos. And actually, I think when FPL's as pants as this, hopefully some of you can appreciate the deeper meaning a little bit more in terms of like a bit of perspective on, thankfully there is more to life than this. And actually, there is hope beyond this absolute shambles of a game at times. So, in terms of the FPL wildcard sort of team for Game Week 28, so in goal, I've got Kelleher. I know Brentford just lost to the Brighton boys. I was pleased that we finally got a win. Um, he's still got some nice fixtures coming up. And I just think for that price point for a penalty saver, he's still the guy I'd have in goal. And actually, his points this season are right up there in terms of the top keepers, but obviously for a very cheap price. Next to him, Dubravka, no brainer, 4 mil, plays every week for Burnley. You're not going to ever want to start him because Burnley are pretty terrible. Again, no offense, Burnley fans, but you've got him there if you need him and maybe for bench boost later. Now, so he's sort of getting more interestingly into the defence. So this is what I've put together. I've put together a team that has Gabriel, I think, right, no brainer, essential. Van Dijk with Liverpool's fixtures at the moment and how well he's doing, I think no brainer, fairly essential and wild card. I've popped Canate in there for double Liverpool defence. Now, I think this is one you don't have to have. But I just think it's a bit of differential at the moment. Liverpool, have got some decent run of fixtures, and it was one of a way of getting double Liverpool into the team that was like quite easy to do. Like he's nailed alongside Van Dijk. He's not bad for DEFCON. Maybe he pops up with a differential goal in the coming weeks in this fixture run. I just thought, and he worked perfectly for the finances of this team, which I think has fairly like average to low finances. So I think most of you will be able to afford this. So anyway, Canate's in there. I've put Gay in there as well. I think City have a few nice fixtures coming up. He's quite crucial for City. It gives you some sort of City defensive coverage. And I just quite like the guy, to be honest. I think he's been quite talismanic this season in terms of defensive performances. So I think he's still going to have some big games this year. Or maybe he pops up some goals, some sort of bonus points, some DEFCON, etc. So Gay's in there, and he's good value, I think, still at his price. You could have O'Reilly, to be fair, instead of Gay if you wanted for that attacking fullback threat, playing higher up this season. Maybe he's a more aggressive pick, but I just love Mark Gay. So that's why I went with him in my team and as nailed as houses as well. And then James Hill, I think for 4 mil bargain, good for DEFCON. Bournemouth fixtures are decent if you need him for a bench boost or to put into to the team for one of these upcoming games. Like he could well do a good job for you. He's basically a cheap Senesi, so that's why he's in there. Now in terms of midfield, this is what I've got. So I've got Harry Wilson of Fulham, decent fixtures, lovely fixture home to Burnley and blank 31. I just think, yeah, Fulham have just got a nice 3-1 win at Sunderland. Maybe there's some momentum there now for Harry Wilson to go on a bit of a run of form, to get some attacking returns. Home to Spurs next game is quite nice after they got decimated by Arsenal. I just think he's good value, and I think he looks very solid in this team. I don't think there's really a weak area in this team, which is what I quite like with the depth and the possibility for bench boost at some point. But Burmo's in there, so United tonight got a pretty boring 1-0 win against Everton at the time of recording. But he did get the assist, and I think he's returned like 6 game weeks in a row or something like that. I've always loved him, Burmo, as an FPL asset. At Brentford, he was class. I owned him all season. He was brilliant for me. And although he's off penalties, at United, he just continues to tick over. He's a great player. And that's why Mbeumo for me is a no-brainer on wild card. Fernandez alongside him, I think he's key, isn't he, to the United. It's a shame the Defcons have dropped off a bit under Carrick's new system, but he's got so many routes to points. This boy, I think we have to own him. Semenyo's in there, just really good value City attacking player that's so dangerous, and then Tavernier for Bournemouth back from injury, on set pieces, penalties, etc. I just think that's actually it's a more exciting looking midfield. I think you got the Elliot Andersons at the moment, and the James Garners and the Declan Rices that are doing, ticking over with DEFCON, and maybe a more boring and safe wildcard draft is you just chucking a load of DEFCON players at the moment. But I just think where we're a bit abject of fun at the moment in the game, stacking your team full of attacking players that have good fixtures, like surely you're going to get some attacking returns. And if you do well, like hauling, your team could haul. And that sounds more of a fun sort of thing for me, where maybe you can add a bit more fun into your FPL. Salah's a player I wanted to squeeze into this draft. I couldn't quite afford him. And he's not looked great recently, but I just still feel like for those Liverpool fixtures, if you can get him or you want a really nice differential, like on penalties, etc., like we know what Salah can do when he wants to. It's been a long time, obviously, but I think there's still a big say in this. If you could fit a Salah on your team on wildcard, like he could give you that differential edge. Or if he goes off over the coming weeks, like we know he can or used to, I think he's worth a shout. But in this team, if you wanted to squeeze in some Liverpool attack, like you could very easily do like in Burma to Verts or something, and get the coverage like that. Alternatively, up front, you could change one of the strikers I've put in, who's basically the same price as Ekitike. So there's things you could do with this team. But as I mentioned, the strikers, no prize for guessing who some of them are. But I've got Thiago for Brentford, great fixture on no brainer. Good value player. I know he's blanked a lot recently, but I think give him these next bunch of fixtures and see how he does. Haaland's still made the cut in this team. I just think they have got three nice fixtures coming up. Away to Leeds is a good attacking fixture. I don't know. I feel like I'd still want Haaland in my team. A lot of us have good value tied up in him. If you're on wildcard now, you're going to want him for double game weeks coming up for triple captaincy or bench boost or just captaincy in general. So that's why Haaland still made the cut. And then you'll notice a Victor Gyökeres in there, and I think Gyökeres may well have made the thumbnail. So I watched the Arsenal game against Spurs, and you could argue this is a big knee-jerk reaction, but he looked good. He looked very clinical. His two goals were taken brilliantly. And I just feel like, if you want a bit of a differential attacker at the moment that potentially could have a run of confidence and a run of form, I remember João Pedro a few weeks ago looks brilliant in one of his games. I think Champions League game, he got them the win against, was it away to Napoli? And I just thought, I sense João Pedro's going to go on a bit of run of form here. There's something about strikers in form that like to continue to score and do well. And I missed the boat of João Pedro because I just didn't have an obvious route to him in my team. And he smashed it week on week, and even at the weekend against Burnley, he scored again. I just wonder if maybe this is Gyökeres' time. At the start of the season, I was like, when Gyökeres signed for Arsenal, I was like, him and Haaland up front all season for me, job done. And obviously Gyökeres' form hadn't hit the ground running, so he wasn't the player that could play alongside my Haaland for the season. But I wonder if now could be his time when Arsenal, have some big games coming up, they need to get some results. He's a man with confidence now. He may well be on penalties still. I say still, like I know he shared a bit of Saka, but I don't know, just like at the moment when FPL fun is so sparse and, there's not really many attacking players consistently doing it, particularly differential ones. I wonder if Gyökeres just could be quite a fun little differential punt for Arsenal, hop on his form that he just showed against Spurs and see if he can bully a few teams over the coming weeks, get even more confidence and, yeah, destroy you up the ranks, essentially. So that's why he's in there as a little bit of a punt. But otherwise, if you want a Liverpool attacker for their run of fixtures, pop in Ekitike instead of Gyökeres, and you can obviously run with that. But I think Gyökeres gives you that bit of differential fun, which yeah, he could well do the job. So that's the wildcard draft. Let me know your thoughts in the comments if you have any insight on it or players you switch around. I'd love to hear from you, yeah, in relation to it. I mean, the fixtures, I don't need to go over. You can look them up yourselves. But as I alluded to, like there's the reason why I've got the Liverpool sort of defenders in there, and I've mentioned you could have an attacker in there. I think it's triple Liverpool is nice if you can get to it, to be honest. But just as I put that team together, I just thought that is 15 just really solid players right now. So I thought, yeah, why not? I quite like the look of it. City, there's a run of games I've mentioned. Chelsea's fixtures turn now, which is another reason why this could be a nice wildcard window to get off the Chelsea boys that we've stacked up on. And there is an argument for the Bible FPL team to hit the wildcard this week. I was really thinking about it, and I still am thinking about it. So we'll come on to that briefly. There's the Bournemouth fixtures, hence why I've got a couple of Bournemouth players in there. And that's why we've got Thiago and Kelleher, that beautiful run for Brentford. And I'd argue, for Arsenal, home to Chelsea, away to Brighton, home to Everton, it's not a terrible run of three, which is why we've got still a couple of Arsenal players in there. They're going to be desperate to win the title, and it's the likes of a Gabriel and maybe a Gyökeres at this time with the form he's in that could get him over the line. So yeah, that's the thoughts of the wild card. In terms of we'll just rattle through quickly. The main team, I'm not going to bore you with it. 46 points. It was a decent week, but fairly average overall. Nothing huge to write home about, really. Haaland captaincy was nice that he got 6 double to 12. Donnarumma actually was a really nice 5-pointer. Like it was the sort of week where you have to celebrate that. And obviously Munoz 9 was really nice. And it was things like, Bowen getting DEFCON luck. I was excited about that because you're like, I don't have many other points to celebrate, and a Rice DEFCON as per. Him and Anderson just highlighting the DEFCON boys week in, week out, like they just tick over. So, they're doing well for a reason. It's just a bit boring, isn't it, at times? In terms of the transfers, I've actually already made my two transfers as planned. Before the price rises, I've brought Thiago in for Bowen and I've brought Virgil in for Chalobah. And I think that looks like a solid 11 this week. Captain Haaland at the moment, I've got Vice Bruno. I don't think anything tonight from the United game has swayed me to go Bruno captaincy, but I think if you're feeling it, he could well be good. Palace are looking weak at the moment defensively. They've got a big European game on Thursday. United will be fully rested. It could be a game where Fernandes feasts. So yeah, if you're feeling it, go for it. I just think Leeds games can be so open, and I think the destroyer of Haaland on his day, we know what he can do. So currently the captaincy armband's on him, but I don't hate a Fernandes punt whatsoever if you're feeling it. Um, in terms of the Bible team, so 38 points. It struggled this week, to be fair. The triple Arsenal defence was always going to be dangerous away to Spurs, and unfortunately, Kole Marnie wiped out any dreams of a triple clean sheet. Alisson's cleaner was nice. We needed that. Semenyo's defcon was nice. We take that. Palmer captaincy was the wrong choice, but at least Haaland didn't massively outscore him on this team. Like the team, I think is still just about in the top 20k. It's still in the mixer. And we've got some big decisions this make. Big decisions we've got to think about making this week for the team as to what we do. So I'll come on to that in a minute. Before I do, if you're familiar with this series, you'll know I always do a short Bible talk, as I mentioned at the start of the video. We use a return time to inspire the talk in relation to the player's name. So there weren't many returns to go off this week. So we're going to have to go with Haaland's assist that he got. I think it was in the 27th minute, yeah, for Nico O'Reilly. And I'm sure, yeah, he did get the second assist. It was the 27th minute. And Haaland is our Book of Hebrews option. H for Haaland, H for Hebrews. There aren't really any obvious other Hebrews options that we got in the team. So that's why Haaland serves that purpose. And Hebrews, we're going to go to chapter 2, verse 7. We're actually going to read verses 6 to 8 with 7 sandwiched in between because it's a little quote that won't make much sense otherwise, that's pulled from the Psalms. So here's how it goes, and I'll explain what it means. So first it says, "What is mankind that you are mindful of them?" So this is speaking of God, and God being mindful of mankind, like human beings, actually, thinking of them, a son of man that you care for him, so that, like, what are humans that you actually care for us, God? Like, you care for sinful, messed up beings like us that do things wrong every single day, that spend hours thinking about fancy football and often thinking more about our own problems and our own fancy football trivial problems than other people, etc., etc., etc. What is mankind that God actually cares about us? You made us a little lower than the angels. So on earth, angels are heavenly beings. God's made us in his image, but I guess while on earth, there's a sense for a little lower than the angels. Crown them in glory and honor and put everything under their feet. So God has given us dominion over the earth to look after the earth, to steward the earth, which we're doing a terrible job of overall with global warming and all those sorts of things. It's a miracle that Jesus came to die for us by his grace, with how much of a mess we've made of the earth and of sin and bad decisions and the amount of suffering that's in the world that's brought on largely by human free will. It's amazing, isn't it, that like this passage is like God still cares about us. He still cares about us to have died for us. Like, yeah, it's insanity that God gives us kind of authority over things in this life. And actually, the Bible goes on to say that those who put their faith in Jesus, one day when they're in eternity, they actually have some kind of authority over the angel beings themselves, which is again mad to think that like we just don't even remotely deserve that. And when I speak of angels, some of you are like, angels, like demons, gods, like, where are you going with this, James? Well, the Bible talks about a heavenly realm, a spiritual realm. If you believe in God, you believe in angels, you believe that there's, demonic things out there as well. On the flip side, there's a devil, there's demons, there's, all sorts of things knocking around. And there's a spiritual battle going on behind the scenes. There's a spiritual battle going on right now for your souls, believe it or not. And God's wanting to win your soul, to put your faith in Jesus, to give you salvation from your sin, and to not let you get subtly dragged into, dark paths in this life, and paths of addiction and paths of things that can lead you horribly astray and into a horrible place of depression. And yeah, essentially, God wants what's best for you. He cares about you, as it says in this passage. Like, he cares about us humans, us sinful, screwed up human beings that do wrong things every day. He cares about us. He loves us. He sent Jesus to die for us. And just a brief little bonus point I was going to bring on, just sort of appreciating, like, if God is real, like, it's insane what he's done for us. In Isaiah 6, there's this vision that Isaiah's got. and he's got a vision of basically the Lord God sitting, throned in a temple, and he's also had this picture of these seraphim. So seraphim are angels, and it's saying with 6 wings, with two of them they covered their faces, two of them they covered their feet, and with two of them they were flying, and they were calling to one another, saying, "Holy, holy, holy is God." So there's this picture of these angels that apparently one day humans that put their faith in Jesus in are going to have authority over. These massive winged beings, and even these powerful holy creatures are covering their faces because of just the holiness and the power of God that they're in the presence of. And later, Isaiah's in God's presence, and he's just like he's on his face before God, and he cries, "I am ruined," which basically means like I am destroyed. Like in the presence of God, like I can't even stand. Like I basically feel like I'm just about to die because God's holiness is just far greater than mine. My sin in His presence is exposed. Like this is a perfect being, and I'm so not perfect. I fall so far short of Him, and yet later in the passage we see that God takes away His sin. He says your sin's been atoned for. Ultimately, in Jesus, that's what's has happened on the cross for us. That's been made possible for those of us who put our faith in Jesus. And if you're watching this, you're not a Christian. You're like, where's this going? Well, look, if you put your faith in Jesus, you can be forgiven from your sins, and you can be loved and forgiven by this holy, powerful, incredible being that is God. That loves you more than you realize and loves you more than you know, and that he loves you so much he sent Jesus to die for you, even though he's this crazily powerful, holy God. He still cares enough about you to love you, to send Jesus to die for you. Like when you get your head around it, like for the very least, if you don't believe in God, can you consider if this is true and if God is real and He is really this powerful, mighty, and holy, and yet He still sent His Son to die to save you because He loves you. Like that is mind blowing, isn't it? Like none of us deserve that, and yet God cares that much. He saw past our sin to die for us, to save us, to forgive us, to give us a second chance. And you guys can have that salvation in God. You can know Him. You can put your faith in Him. You can have His Spirit fill your soul and your heart, and He can help you in life. And to look at things with fresh perspectives and to find peace in life where life can be so void of peace and all these sorts of things. And I won't go on and on and on to do just a massive preach, but just if you're a Christian watching this, hopefully there's appreciation of wow, God, you're amazing. You're an incredible God. Like, thank you for all you've done for me. And if you're not a Christian watching this, I want to encourage you to consider if God is that massive and that powerful and that holy, like He's worth our attention. And also He's worth praising if He sent Jesus to die for us, to forgive us of our sins, to give us hope in this life, even though none of us deserve it. So yeah, like maybe pray a prayer to God if you're hearing this and you're like, okay, this sounds amazing, James, if it's true. I really don't think it is true. But maybe just like, seek God and say to Him, like, say just an honest prayer, like, God, if you are real, like, would you help me to know you're real and see what He does? And if you really want Him to be real, like, keep seeking Him and ask Him that question from your heart. And He will help to reveal Him, like, He will reveal Himself to you. Like, he loves you at the end of the day, and if he sees your heart is longing for him, like he'll meet with you and he'll find you and he'll save you and he'll change your life, like he's changed mine. So yeah, that's the message of encouragement in the midst of the bleakness that FPL can be. There is hope beyond this life, and the Bible, talks about that in amazing ways. So I want you guys to find that as well if you haven't already. Ultimately, and to finish with the FPL stuff, so the Bible team as we come into land. It's looking all right, but the triple Chelsea v triple Arsenal is not ideal. And that's why I rolled the transfer this game week to basically give us a chance to rectify things. Unless we hit that wildcard button, which we might do, the most obvious transfers for me probably this week are I think Enzo's got to go. Gakpo's a strong Christian lad. We say we have to have 7 Christian lads in the starting 11 each week on this team. That's the rules for the series. So we've got Gakpo in, and we do Saliba down to that man I mentioned earlier, who I love, strong Christian lad, wonderful chap. I can't spell his name. Mark Gay. He comes in, and that basically is what I'm thinking of doing if I just did the two free transfers this week. There's another route I do where I get rid of Gakpo, I bring in Burmo, I bring in Gay, and I bring in Bassi for Chalobah for exact funds. Bassi's another Christian lad that we justified for the series essentially, and he's got some good fixtures for Fulham, so he could do a job. That'd be for a -4 though. I'm just wondering if the gay play who I've been wanting anyway, and then the Gakpo for this Liverpool run, bit of a differential. And also, last time I considered bringing Gakpo in for West Ham away, I didn't because I was like, Gakpo's not doing that well this season. He scored twice and smashed it. So, and they're West Ham at home this week. So I'm like, maybe I can get some Gakpo redemption here. And yeah, just give him a go, really. Give him a go for at least the next maybe four fixtures and take what we can get and go from there. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It also means I can hold Chalobah, who will be useful for blank 31. Whereas if I do the -4, I'll be getting rid of Chalobah. So I'll lose a player for 31 that could be useful. So I'm weighing up just going for this route. And if anything happens between now and the deadline, like there's another injury, I say another injury, like an injury to one of my players, like one of the core players in the team or something, I may well just hit that wildcard button and put together something similar to this, but there'll be a few extra Christian lads in there to tick the rulings for the series, basically, such as Allison in for Kelleher and players like that that help to bring up the Christian numbers. Yeah, I know this is a creative way of playing FPL, but that's what we're here for on this channel. And yeah, if you liked it even remotely, any like, any comment is appreciated. If you have any questions, please comment because like I know I talk about some big topics in here. You could think I'm wacky and I'm completely, out of my head. And if this is all a load of rubbish, then of course, like I'm chatting absolute nonsense. But I've experienced God in such ridiculously powerful ways in my life and answered prayers and healings and all sorts of things where I know he's real. So therefore I'm gonna talk about what the Bible says in a way that's passionate and honest and trying to help explain it to you because I know it's real and it can change your life like it's changed mine. So yeah, we'll leave it there. As I always say before the video is too long, but I do hope you have more fun game week 28 if your game week this week was just as sort of meh as mine. But yeah, for now, I'll leave it there. Thanks for all the support on the channel, and I'll catch you on the next one.